All right, folks, it's time for our favorite podcast, Cut to the Chase. This show, I'm bringing on Brooke Lively. How are you doing today, Brooke?
I am awesome, Greg. Thanks so much for having me.
Many of my shows are extremely interesting, and I love doing them and meeting the people and hearing the stories and the information. This I know is going to be one that's just the same, exciting, interesting, but I'm going to be getting some information that I need myself, I think, and that other lawyers that own law firms or managing partners or partners and want to, they're like, oh my God, what happened? We just made a ton of money. And now all of a sudden I'm getting an email that we got to tap into our line of credit. What happened? Nobody knows what happened. Nobody knows how to read a financial statement. Where are we going with this? Brooke is here to talk about how to handle your business from a business perspective. She is the owner and operator and CEO of Cathedral Capital, which basically provides these type of consulting information and services to those that, hey, you went to law school, you wanted to be a lawyer, now all of a sudden you're running a law firm, and the bottom line is important. And Brooke, are you here to help us today?
I'm here. Can I cuss a little bit, Greg?
Yes, absolutely. This is not only PG rated, but it's R rated.
I'm here to help you guys make a shit ton of money.
Shit ton. I'm going to quote you on. That's going to be, and there will be some quotes from the show in the show notes and all that. So that might be the first one. But we're going to talk about like the 6 key numbers that you, as an owner of a law firm or a partner or whatever, need to dig deeply into. We're also going to talk a little bit about succession planning. Like maybe you're one of these, you're getting old, long in the tooth. You're like thinking, AI, oh my God, this is passing me by. I got to pass this business on. We're also going to talk about buying and selling law firms, because that's really picking up in ways that I never could have imagined. We're also going to talk about the coming deregulation of the legal industry and strategies fast-growing firms need to use to make more money. So where do we start? You want to start on the 6 key numbers?
I don't know. I mean, I kind of want to start on deregulation and selling your law firm, but we can start on 6 key numbers.
Okay, no. You know what? I mean, I know I always sort of like to go backwards first. So let's start on buying and selling your law firm. You're out there. You're like, hey, I've made some money. I want to get out. I want to retire, whatever. I mean, talk to me about buying and selling. What is it that you do that can help people buying and selling their firms?
Well, I think the first thing we need to recognize is that law firms really have, in the past 10, 15, 20 years, have started to evolve from practices to actual businesses. And attorneys are recognizing the value that they're creating. In the past, a law firm was basically a job that you bought into and sucked all the money you could out of that job while you had it. And then if you were lucky, you might be able to sell it on to the next guy for whatever, like really, if you were lucky, whatever you bought it for. But in most cases, you just close down your firm. Now, there is value in that. There is value in the policies and procedures. There's value in your website. There's value in your people. There's value in your client list. And firms are figuring out how to monetize that value and how to sell it. And that is an amazing thing. What do we do to help law firms sell? We make them more profitable. So the more you can make your law firm run automatically, the more you can make your law firm run without you being the one that turns the crank, the more desirable it becomes as an acquisition target.
So is this something that, okay, I wake up one morning and I'm like, I got to sell my law firm, or is there planning going to be, is the wise thing to do to, take a 5-year period of time and build it up and make sure you're not that, quick key of a core component?
So there's a great saying in the M&A world, the mergers and acquisitions world. And it is, you can have your price and my timeline, my terms, or you can have your terms and my price. So you've got to decide. If you want to control the price of the firm that you sell, if you want, then it's going to be on the other person's terms. And it probably means you're going to have a longer timeline. So yeah, you need the 5 years if you want to get a really high price. If you wake up one morning and say, I want to unload this puppy, you're not going to get a great price for it, because you probably are still going to be very integral to everything that's happening.
I got divorced, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. I had a personal injury practice. My attorney said to me, Greg, what do you think the value of your law firm is? Because your soon to be ex is going to get, whatever, half of that
Yeah.
value. And I'm like, man, I think it's worth, and I threw out some enormous number. Minutes later, this is back when people were still faxing. He faxed me a case from the Florida appellate court that said that basically your law firm has no value. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? That's terrible. I really, I'm kind of depressed about that. But they were back then, I think it was a much different situation. Now people with the client lists and all this kind of intangible, data has real value.
Yeah, and there are a couple of different ways to look at it. So a law firm in general, the easiest way to value it is to look at a multiple. And everybody wants to look at a multiple of your revenue. And law firms aren't going to sell that way. They're going to be a multiple of your net income. And that multiple is going to be somewhere between 2.5 and 5. Okay. So if you're doing $1 million a year and your net income is $100,000, then you're going to get somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000 for your law firm.
Yeah.
What's the difference between 250 and 500?
Twice.
Right, 2x. But it's how much time does it take for you to run your firm? How much of it is dependent upon you? And I totally forgot where I was going with this.
Well, all right. Let me ask you this then. You want, obviously, when you're trying to sell your firm, you're trying to sell it for the most money that, and you probably overinflate what you think the value is and what you should get. Right. So you're going to tell people, hey, listen, this is basically what the market rate is. Let's flip it over for a second. And let's say I'm coming to you and, hey, you know what? I've been working 10 years with this law firm. I want to get out. I've got some money saved away. I want to buy a law firm.
Yep.
So I'm assuming that's sort of the flip side. How do you help someone like that? Do you help people like that?
And we're going to look at it the same way. I am not going to be the one that does the deal. We are always happy to look at the numbers. I'm probably going to say you need to call the people at the Law Practice Exchange, because they are awesome and these are the deals they do every day. But you want to look at it and where on that sliding scale of 2.5 to 5 should you be? What should you be offering? And then you said you had a PI practice. PI practices have an added layer on them of you have case inventory. And how much is that inventory worth? State of Florida may say that it's not worth anything. The IRS says that it's not worth anything. But if you've got 40 cases in stock that are all going to settle for over $1 million, there's a lot of value in that.
Exactly.
I'm working on a deal right now where it is an immigration firm. And they agreed to the multiple. But now what they're doing, and I don't know how much you know about immigration, but you pretty much get paid up front and then you've got to finish working the case. The government right now is not processing anything very quickly. So now they're going back and trying to figure out what is in inventory and how much work is it going to take to get that done. And then they're subtracting that from the sales price.
Yeah.
Because that's a liability, right? The new owner is still going to have to get that work done. And so she's not going to pay for it if she's going to have to do it. And so, there are adjustments that you do.
The immigration story is giving me a deja vu because I actually learned that lesson the hard way. One of my good buddies, when we first started out, we did a radio show, and I put together the radio show, and I brought him on, and I was trying to cross market immigration. I'd bring on a divorce lawyer, PI, and we would all talk about things or whatever. And so at one point he got a big job offer with a huge law firm, and he said, "Greg, hey, can you take over my practice?" And I was thinking to myself,
God,
50 new clients, whatever. And then I'm like, Lord have mercy. So the next thing I know, I was doing all these deportation trials. I barely speak English. I barely speak Spanish. My clients were only speaking Spanish. So I'm sitting there having to pay, the translator to come, and, it's already paid in full.
Yeah. And you're not getting any money for it.
I'm like, look, Judge, whenever you're ready to decide, you let me know. Just raise your hand, and I'll close the argument. Let me go back to my office or whatever. So I did learn, I guess, the PI with the end payment is much better than the, upfront payment.
So it's which way are you going? Everybody's going to start at that same place. What's the multiple? We've got a range. Where in the range do you fall? And then what are the adjustments that you make? Are we going to bump that final number up because we've got case inventory that's really valuable? Or do we need to lower that final number because we've got a case inventory that's going to cost us money to work?
Yeah. So let's talk about the person that owns a law firm, or has ownership interests. They want to sell, but they still want to practice. I mean, do you see that happen as well? Is that an alternative to some people to maybe scale back, get out of the, looking at the money kind of thing?
Yeah. I had a call with someone today, and his deal was, he's like, I want a partner. He wants to practice more. He wants to spend more time in the courtroom. And he wants that person that he can exchange ideas with, that he can share some of the responsibility with. He's like, I've had my own firm for like 17 years. It's a very successful firm.
Yeah.
And he's ready to not be the only one in charge.
Yeah. And it's a big relief. I think when people can put together that kind of a package, it's a big relief.
Well, and it's also a great succession planning tool, right? Because you can bring that partner in, you can be partners with them for 5 or 10 years. And then it is the way you can get out, because you can, and I really have to find a better word for it than this, you can sunset your career.
Yeah.
It always makes people sound like they have Alzheimer's. But, instead of working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, you can start working 30 hours a week.
Yeah.
My uncle's an attorney, and he has done this. In his firm, the way they're set up, they allow the senior partners to do that. And after a certain point, he just works fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer hours.
Yeah.
But he still has an office, and
Yeah.
he still has paralegal, and he still takes care of some of his clients, and he still goes on 2-week around the world trips.
Yeah. So, all right, let's talk in general about succession planning. So what is that all about? And give me a couple of tips for those that are, 60, 65, they want to get out of, they want to stay in a little bit. They don't want to, maybe they've got a relative that's an attorney, or a child that's an attorney, bringing them in. Let's talk about the basics of it.
I think really the biggest thing is understanding what your goal is. So I've got a client out in California, and his goal was not the money. He didn't need the money. he had been successful, his wife had been very successful, and they didn't have children. And they had always lived substantially below their means. They had plenty of money.
Yeah.
He was concerned about his clients. He has a very niched practice area. And he is one of the best in the country at what he does. And so his succession planning, the goal was to make sure that there was someone that could learn to do what he does and keep going for his clients. Some people, I've got another guy in Houston, and he is PI, and it's a little bit about his clients, but it's very much about his staff.
Yeah.
He has never married and never had children, and in his team is his family.
Yeah.
So his succession plan is about making sure that that firm goes on for them, but also that is his legacy.
Yeah.
So, Johnny Cochran's firm's still going on. And at one point I had to go, didn't he die? I'm pretty sure he
died. Yeah, but OJ had nothing to do with that. His death.
OJ didn't kill that one off, but
thing had nothing to do with the other.
but and so he would love to have a firm that lives on after him.
Yeah.
Because that's the legacy one. So, what is it? Do you want the money? Are we doing succession planning because of money? If so, that's great. Just really know what your goal is.
Yeah.
And how are you going to do it? Are you going to hire someone, train them, and then do this, and then have them buy you out? Are you going to, I talk about bonking people on the head with the magic wand and just, say, boom, you own a big chunk of the law firm now. That's a little harder. The IRS is tracking more information now.
Yeah.
And depending upon what part of the IRS code you're reading, that firm may or may not have a lot of value. You may or may not be able to do that. Is it about money? Is it about legacy? Is it about, you've got to be really clear. Yeah.
Employees, I mean, listen, I love my employees. I'm very connected to my employees. And when I get upset at them, and they will say I scream. I will say that I speak very passionately. But they love me, no matter how much passion I have behind any particular moment of displeasure from their performance or whatever. And I find that what helps me motivate them most of all is when I convincingly tell them I'm going to close down. I'm retiring. I'm done. Just get ready to start finding another job. Then things change dramatically, whatever. And I think to myself, I'm a big planner. 5 years. I know everybody's like 5. I like to plan 20 years. And I'm always, in my mind thinking I'm already like, okay, if I do close down or whatever happens, I'm already thinking like which of my colleagues is going to inherit my employees. But I mean, it's a big issue. Some people don't even realize it, but when push comes to shove and you're like, okay, well, boy, this person has been with me for 25 years and has covered my backside and has really helped me out with angry clients or judges that are looking for me or whatever. And, they only know you. They only know your practice. And like the concept of, cutting them loose when they're 55, 60 years old, can be daunting to you and them. And so, I think that.
And you feel responsible.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, it's life. It's life.
Yeah. So I think there is planning in it. And what do you want to get out of it? What's the goal? How are you going to accomplish it? There's so many people that think, oh, I'll hire someone, train them and pass it along. That's not a fast thing.
Yeah.
You don't hire someone, train them, and sell them your firm in 6 months. The guy in California that I was telling you about, I think hired five potential partner / succession people.
Yeah.
I mean, one of them he fired before lunch on the first day.
Yeah.
Actually, he didn't fire them before lunch on the first day, wanted to fire them before lunch on the first day. I was like, no, let's give this person till the end of the week. I mean, I literally got an email.
Yeah, within hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, how did they get all the way through the interview process, but couldn't get through 3 hours of the day?
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, it's just when you might not say, you might not realize what your skill set is and what you're bringing to your practice, but to get someone to replace you is not, I know what I'm a high volume. I work extremely fast and efficient. I'm all about the systems. I don't take big lunches. I know some people say it's unhealthy or whatever. I don't sit around the office chit-chatting with people. I don't like long phone calls. And I've always been like, well, I've been thinking about it too. Like, who would and there's only maybe a handful of people that I know that I think could even do part of it. So, it's to find somebody, if you're really like, okay, this thing needs to carry on for another 30 years, and I need to get my clients taken care of and my employees, you might need to spend a lot of time finding the right person.
You might. And you said something key. You like systems. You can set those systems up. And let's segue into the next thing, the deregulation of the legal industry. It's happening. It's happened in Utah with their sandbox. It's happened in Arizona with the ABS, the alternative business structures. Seems to be much more successful and going well in Arizona. There will be a time, I think probably in the next 3 to 5 years, where someone like me can come in and buy your firm, Greg.
Yeah.
And if you've got those systems in place, I can run the heck out of your firm.
Yeah. So let's go back to Arizona, because I know that is the one state where non-lawyers can partner up with lawyers or even buy out the law firm.
And Utah, but yes.
And I didn't realize that Utah also.
Yeah, Utah calls it the sandbox. And they haven't done as many. It hadn't caught on. It's more restrictive than what they're doing in Arizona. I think the Arizona format is probably what'll move forward in other parts of the country.
Do you, from what the people that you do business with and talk to, how much of the world that's non-lawyers that is into the legal industry even knows about what's going on in Arizona and Utah and those possibilities?
How much of the non-legal industry knows, or how much of the legal industry knows?
Well, both, I guess, right? I mean, it could play into, positively for both. You could bring in a non-lawyer partner. I would imagine some commercial outfits probably should have, some CFO types maybe that are, own part of the law firm and can really focus in on the things that you're going to be talking about.
Yeah, there are pockets that are really into it. So there are a couple of things. First of all, they have deregulated the dental industry. I don't know if you know that or not, but if you have seen an advertisement for Mint Dentistry, and there are a couple of other big national practices now, they allow non-dentist ownership of dental practices. I think the legal industry can learn a lot from what happened with dentists. And there has been, I believe, some non-accountant ownership of accounting firms.
Yeah.
Basically, lawyers have really good lobbyists, and you guys have protected your area really well.
Guys and girls.
You got you guys and girls. Yes.
Yeah.
Y'all, I'm from
Yeah.
Texas. Y'all have done a good job.
Y'all have done a good job. Yeah.
There are certain practice areas that are very attractive, and Greg, you're one of them because you're PI. So there are hedge funds out there that have been dying for years to get into your industry.
Yeah.
They like the risk, they like the reward, they think they can manage it, especially a firm like yours, which is high volume, very systematized. Like that fits into what they do, right? Um, they really want in. And there are a number of hedge funds that are looking at it, especially for PI. There is one that is either in the process or has formed an ABS. From what I understand, they are taking cases from other states. And I hear that they are going to buy law firms in other states.
Yeah.
And, you know, can an Arizona ABS own a law firm in Alabama? Well, no one's ruled on that yet, but they're looking for forgiveness, not permission.
So what does ABS stand for? Just for the audience.
Alternative, alternative business structure.
Right.
Um, I don't think that people are looking at family law as being quite as exciting,
Yeah.
right? I mean, hedge funds, they like the risk reward profile of a PI firm.
Yeah.
They find
And
that much.
all, and also I also do a lot of work in the mass tort world, and they
Yeah,
are all over that. I
they're
mean,
all over the place.
they are
Yeah,
all over cannibalize. I mean, one of my buddies in the industry says they're cannibalizing the industry, but I guess
yeah,
we'll see on that. I wanted to go back to Johnny Cochran because I think the Johnny Cochran story, I don't know all the details, but Johnny was a famous criminal attorney.
yep,
And now the Johnny Cochran, I mean, when you talk about succession planning and systems, Johnny Cochran, people would hire Johnny Cochran. They want him. They wanted him to defend them. They had a major, they were charged with murder or whatever. And they wanted Johnny to make the opening argument, the doing the trial, whatever. And now the Johnny Cochran operation is a mass tort and personal injury law firm. I don't even know if maybe they still are doing the defense work, but they're all
yep.
over the place.
They do
So that,
criminal. Yeah, it's a it's kind of like McDonald's. You just kind of buy in and you own a franchise.
and you own a franchise. That's right. I know, but I have a feeling they're doing very well from what I see at these mass tour conferences. They are all over the place.
Yeah,
So, all
and
right.
they will do a lot of different kinds of law.
Yeah. And listen, good for them. I think they've probably incorporated a lot of what you recommend.
Yeah,
And it goes to show you that you could start as a small criminal defense firm, in one state and, explode nationally, and who knows, even, I think things that are going on in Europe right now with their legal system are opening the door for maybe some opportunities as well. All right. So do we cover the deregulation? Is there any part that we missed out on that?
I don't think so. With the exception of as deregulation is coming, what I am a combination of with deregulation coming and attorneys recognizing that their businesses have value, I am seeing more and more firms sell.
Yeah,
And I think that is nothing but positive.
that's
You
interesting. I mean,
guys, as an industry, you all should be able to sell these businesses that you've bought. They have value. You should be able to monetize that. You should be able to sell it and get all that investment, all the years of blood, sweat, and tears that you've put into these firms. You should be
yeah.
able to get that out. And I'm really happy to see that happening.
Yeah, the whole, I mean, I know the legal industry is exploding now with AI. I just went to a conference or whatever. I just can't even, I cannot, for someone my age to be every day learning another platform and I gotta,
Yeah.
log on and, like get my onboarding. I'm so tired of onboarding, it's mind boggling. All right. Now I want to focus on, okay, you got a law firm or you're a partner and I don't want to sell it. On succession planning, forget it. I'm one of these people that doesn't have kids. I don't care about my employees that much. I want to build up my law firm. So I want you to tell us your 3 hidden strategies for these law firms to make more money.
It's actually deceptively simple. And it's this, we call it the rule of thirds. 1/3 of your revenue needs to go to paying your people. 1/3 goes to employee cost. 1/3 goes to overhead, which includes your marketing, and 1/3 should go to the bottom line to profit. And that is really all it is. It is that simple. When we start to look more carefully at those things, when we look at 1/3 going to people, there are a couple of things in there. Are we paying people properly? Is their salary, especially if you're an hourly firm, does their salary align with their billable rate and their billing goals? Did those three things combine to the point where we are getting a 3 to 5x multiple on their cost of employment? So if we're paying them 100,000, tax included, we're going to use easy numbers here because I don't have a calculator in front of me, and when I do stuff like this, I tend to make math mistakes on the fly. So we're going to use really easy numbers. We want to bill and collect $300,000 to $500,000 off of them. All right. People always ask me, well, okay, hey, Brooke, you said we need to spend 1/3 on people. So why don't we just do 300,000 on that attorney? Well, because that attorney also has a receptionist that they have to pay for, a bookkeeper that they have to pay for. There's some non-billable people in the firm. As a younger billable person, as a younger attorney, you want them to be closer to that 5x. Because if we could, we would put them in a windowless room, chain them to a desk, and never let them see the light of day in Bill, baby, Bill.
Oh my God, that's X-rated. You went past the R-rated version of the show.
Yeah, because everybody's really excited by that now.
Yeah.
But as an attorney grows,
and no clock, no
windows, no clock. I mean, it's like a casino here, right? They lose all concept of time.
That's terrible.
I know.
Carry on. But we hear about making money. So
as an attorney grows, they take on more responsibilities. They interact with a client more. There's more client relationship management. They may start teaching and training younger attorneys. That takes away from their billable time.
Yeah.
And while their billable rate will rise and offset some of that, the number of billable hours is going to fall. Yeah. And that's okay. So we're going to not expect them to get a 5x multiple. It's going to fall to a 4. And then by the time they become, so I talk about there are 3 kinds of attorneys: the finders, the minders, and the grinders. Okay, so it's the grinders that are in the casino office. Yeah. It's the minders that are taking care of the clients and making sure the younger associates are learning how to do the work and the work's evenly distributed. Then they're the finders. And they're the ones, like you, they're usually the owners of the firm, and their job is to go out, club potential clients over the head, drag them back to the cave by their hair, and deposit them in the laps of the minders.
Yeah. Empty their wallets. Oh, no, I'm kidding. I would never.
Yes, empty their wallets on the way. Yeah, absolutely. So, if we can get a 3x on our big rainmakers, we're happy. Yeah. Because they don't bill much. They contribute to the firm in other ways. Interestingly, when we're looking at paralegals and legal assistants, their career trajectory is the reverse. They start off at a low multiple and they end at a high multiple, because as they learn more, as they become more efficient, they get rid of those non-billable tasks. Yeah. And they start practicing law. No, and then they start practicing law, and they just kind of run by an attorney's office every now and then to get a signature. Sign this right here. Okay. Sign this. What am I signing? Shut up and sign. So, when we're looking at spending 1/3 on people, we want to make sure that we have structured how we are paying people and how we are billing people in such a way that it's going to be profitable. The second part of that is we want to make sure that enough work is moving through the firm. And that's all about having some kind of production goal. I like the billable hour. You don't like the billable hour, Greg. You're like, no, I'm a PI attorney. I became a PI attorney so I didn't have to ever track a billable hour.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it. Fine, great. I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's demand packages sent out for you. I don't care if I don't care what it is, but you need everyone needs some kind of production number that they can be held accountable for every week to know that the work is moving through the firm. And please do not use a production number that is the end of the production line. Do not say money collected, because you can't intervene when somebody is off track on money collected. Because think about an assembly line. In your case, is on an assembly line. And if the only quality check you have is when it comes off the assembly line, how much time and effort and work are you putting in on stuff that's damaged when it got damaged at the very beginning? So don't you want that quality check closer to the beginning? You following me?
Absolutely.
So you want to make sure that that production number, that quality check, is closer to the beginning of the process. So please do not use money collected.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just the natural tendency because,
It's easy.
it's easy. That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing it for, presumably.
Yeah, but don't do it.
All right, so let's go on to the first of these strategies.
That is the first of the strategy.
Well, no, then the third. I'm sorry. I'm always going backwards to front.
That's the first. All right. So the second strategy is spend 1/3 on overhead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Overhead is we divide it into two things. The first is marketing, because that's what attorneys care about. And the other part of overhead is everything else. So marketing is all about, you have to understand what the return is that you're getting. We recommend not spending more than 10% of your revenue on marketing. Are you okay? Are you still breathing there, Greg?
I am way over that.
I know.
Way over that.
Most PI firms are.
Yeah.
The really profitable ones aren't. We do talk to our clients. There are times when they make a decision, a logical, rational decision to spend more to go through a growth spurt. But we really want, for every dollar we put in, we want to get 10 out.
Yeah.
And what that takes is really looking at the data. What is working, what is not? It takes a lot of tracking.
Yeah.
So that we know. It takes a lot of adjustment and looking at it and going, what worked, what didn't work?
Yeah.
And then one of the things that we work with clients on stuff like this is going deeper, not just that surface level, but really understanding the relationships and all the data. So, all right, we know how billboards perform, but how does a billboard for drunk driving perform versus a billboard for slip and falls? And how does a billboard for drunk driving perform in January versus a billboard for drunk driving in July? And then, so really getting down and looking at some of that relational data that's down deeper. Because using that, we can really hone in and get more specific, and therefore spend less to get more on your marketing.
All right. When you throw out the 10% number, is there a smaller number that you say you have to absolutely spend 5%, or you want it to be exactly 10%?
I up to 10%. I had a firm that was doing a few $1,000,000 a year. Do you know what their marketing budget was?
0.
$10,000 a year. They had an ad in the yellow pages.
Oh boy.
Yeah. I'm like, wait, seriously? And I tried to cut it because, I mean, really? Who doesn't throw the yellow pages away when it lands on your doorstep?
Does it even land on your doorstep anymore?
You
I
know, I
would
haven't
like, I'm
seen
kind
one
of,
recently. Good
yeah,
point.
really?
But we went and tracked. He was actually getting calls from the yellow pages.
Really? That's
Yeah.
fabulous. What year are you talking about?
This was like 3-4 years ago.
Really? Wow. I mean, listen, I guess the old school people, I know that your father is an attorney. Is he still practicing? Is he still alive?
No, he basically died at his desk 2 years ago, which
Oh,
is
really?
exactly what he wanted to happen.
Yeah, yeah. So like you, my father also an attorney. Mine is still practicing, 92. And I know I listened to one of a podcast that you were a guest on, Law Her, I think it was. Did I get that right?
Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
And you basically said that your father just said, well, the clients are going to come to me. I don't need to go
Yeah.
out looking for them. And that's my father is the same way.
Yeah. And there are people that are like that. And if you're one of them, if you just have this ability to attract clients, I'm not going to tell you to spend money that you don't need to spend,
Yeah.
because I see no reason to spend vanity money.
Yeah.
Uh, if you would like to grow your practice, if you do not have the volume of clients coming in that you would like, then yeah, let's spend money on marketing, but let's spend it smart.
Yeah. I think that at the very least, you have to have a quality website, because even if you're like, well, I've got a big name, I'm third generation, people know me, they're calling me up left and right. You might not realize that some people are going to, hey, I'm just kind of curious. Let me see their website. And they get it turned off, and you might end up not even realizing that you lost a bunch of people just because, yeah, I think you have to have, there's,
I
I don't agree that
agree.
you can get away with $0. You have to have at least some marketing infrastructure in place.
Yeah, you need to redo your website every few years.
Yeah.
There's some, but not everyone needs to do pay-per-click advertising.
Yeah.
Not everybody needs to have a billboard. Not everybody needs to, have a marketing person in-house. Frankly, not everybody needs to blog
Yeah.
or, do articles or, do stuff like this.
Yeah. I mean, the legal marketing world has just exploded in the last 5 years. I know lawyers that have become marketers, and they're
Mhm.
marketing law firms. And
Absolutely.
I mean, the conference that I went to on the AI, and that's going to really transform marketing in ways that people just, 2 months from now, I think people are their level of knowledge on AI and Chat GPT is going to just, explode. And they're going to be like, wow, I can't believe that I can do all this stuff that way.
Well, and while we're talking about AI, I gotta say, using ChatGPT for a law firm scares the living tar out of me.
Yeah.
Um, because it's not reliable. It is not safe. They had a breach a few months ago where other users could see your prompts and your entries.
Oh, wow.
Uh-huh. Most people don't realize that. Um, so that's a problem. It hallucinates cases. I think everybody's heard about that 30-year attorney in New York that did a wrote a brief. The
Yeah.
opposing attorney couldn't find the cases. Judge couldn't find the cases. He asked the attorney. The attorney's like, "Oh yeah, valid cases." No, they were hallucinating.
Yeah. I
Um,
love that word. I mean, I think it's very appropriate for this concept. Yeah, half of the conference was on the ethical problems that arise from, all the, you could create all this content that, I'm the best. You can't say I'm the best. You got, you got to be careful. But I don't
yeah,
want I don't want to go down the AI rabbit hole here. What? All right. Let's get to the third of your strategies, because then we
So,
still have to go to the key numbers.
so the third strategy is profit. And we divide profit into two buckets. One bucket is a war chest. And you want a war chest for opportunities. For, if you're an hourly attorney, so like, my father and brother are litigators, and they're business litigators. That's what they do. But every now and then those cases come through that are kind of once in a lifetime cases. It's why they had at one point the three biggest jury verdicts, or the biggest jury verdicts in 3 counties in Texas.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
impressive.
yeah, one of them got overturned for,
Yeah,
they
we
got
won't go
nothing.
back there.
But they got the verdicts,
Yeah.
right? Um, but they were contingency cases, and they had to fund them.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do when you're not set up to do that, and you're walking away from your hourly work, your billable work, to work on a contingency case. So you want to have that war chest. You want to have that war chest to, I've got a client in South Texas who's buying a firm in Atlanta. And it was an opportunity to add to her, to add a skill set, a very niched skill set to her firm. And so she's buying somebody else's firm to buy that skill set. Sometimes it's a marketing opportunity. It might be a mass tort, who knows? But it's good to have it. And frankly, it may be another pandemic.
That's right.
But that's why you've got that war chest. It's to be able to take advantage of those opportunities that come up.
Yeah.
And the rest is distributions, you know? And what is your compensation as the owner of the firm? In your compensation, your owner comp is made up of more than just your distributions. It's your distributions, it's your payroll, because most of you are getting some kind of payroll. And it's also, and no judgment here, it's all those personal expenses you run through the firm. I don't care. If you and your tax accountant are good, I'm not the IRS. I'm not going to, we all do it, right?
I talk business every meal, every golf
There
outing.
you go.
That's all we do is talk business.
Write it off, baby.
No, I'm kidding. I'm a Jewish guy, so I got guilt all over the place. The IRS does not even, just exempt me from all audits.
They just walk right past you.
Just based on Jewish guilt, the Jewish
There you
guilt
go.
audit, right? Yeah, there you go.
So, what is your total owner comp? And are you getting what you should be getting? And, depending upon the size of your firm, but by the time you've hit $1 million, you should be getting about a third.
Yeah.
And are you getting it? Are you getting it in a tax efficient way? And is it coming to you? And are you being properly compensated for, the time, the effort, and the risk that you're taking on in owning this firm? Because you are,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of risk involved.
Yeah.
You're guaranteeing salaries. You've got a personal guarantee on that lease, on all the debt for the firm.
I think that the war chest concept is something that I've seen a lot of my colleagues just not, all they've been doing their whole life is dreaming about that 100-foot yacht. They're going to make the big case. They get the big payment. Boom. Within weeks, they've already bought some big toy. And I'm like, you just worked, you put yourself through so much stress, and I go to these conferences, people, I'm like hearing all these stories that all this money they made. And then, the guy next to me is like saying the guy's broke. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so I think the war chest has also got to carry on to your personal life as well.
It does. And, when you're talking about those big, huge settlements, there are companies like Milestone, who is great because you don't actually have to take that whole settlement as income
Yep.
when you get it. It can go to a company like Milestone. You can decide when you're going to take how much. They can invest the rest. You can have it pay out over X number of years. And what we really like to tell our clients to do is if it costs $1 million to run your firm, then let's have that pay out $1 million a year, or, $1.2 million a year for the next 10 years, so that you've got your operating costs covered.
Yeah.
Because that will then give you the latitude to go out and take on some cool cases, because you don't have to worry that the bills are going to get paid, because hello, you've got basically an annuity coming in.
Yep. Big tax breaks also, not tax breaks, but tax benefits to deferring some of the payout over time. And you're not like looking at a big pile of money and you're like, whoa, and it just
Well,
could sleep better at night. And there's so many benefits to doing things like that.
here's the thing about taxes. It's really only a benefit if you think that taxes are going to stay the same or go down.
Yeah.
If you think we are in an incredibly low tax environment, depending upon who gets in office in the next election, depending upon a whole bunch of things, we do have the potential for taxes to go up. So there is some risk there,
Yeah.
but you're still managing, you're still taking some sort of control, and you're creating an environment where you're not going to blow the money.
Yeah. All right. I want to move on to the 6 key numbers that you are going to tell us law firm owners or partners need to track.
All right.
And I got my pen here. Okay.
You got your pen. All right. We're going to do these really fast because we're basically out of time. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
So the first number is cash. How much cash do you have? Right? You need to know that. How often do you need to know that? You need to know that every week.
Every week. CASH. Cash.
CASH.
All right.
Cash. Cash is king.
Cash is king. Yeah.
You need to know your cash flow forecast. So not only how much cash do you have, but how much cash are you going to have at the end of every week for the next 6 to 8 weeks?
Yeah.
Because you can do something 8 weeks in advance if you know you've got a cash crunch coming. There is nothing you can do 8 hours before you have to make payroll. There's a lot you can do 8 weeks before you can't make payroll.
Yeah.
All right. So those are the first two. And cash is obviously a component of your cash flow forecast. So they do kind of build on each other. All right, you ready for the next one?
Number 3.
Number 3. Number 3 is your budget. And we don't like to use the B word. We actually call it a profit plan. Where are you going? What's the expression? You have to know where you're going or you'll end up someplace different. Something like that. If you don't know what the plan is, you will never know if you're off track. So you got to know that.
So we're talking about like an annual budget for the year, what you're expecting to spend on overhead, this, that, and the other thing, and how much money you project to bring in.
Yep, exactly.
So I got my budget. What am I doing? What am I doing? Am I looking at it every month to see if I'm on track?
Yep. At the end of every month, you're going to look at it.
Number 4.
Number 4. I don't know. What do you want number 4 to be? I'm kidding.
How to age gracefully. That's what, no, I'm kidding.
How to age gracefully. Is that what we're going for?
Yeah, no,
We can
that's an
do that one.
intangible.
So the next thing we want to look at is we want to start looking at the the money that's going to come into your firm. And that is going to look, because we want to know what's coming into your firm, we're going to start looking at some projection numbers. So you want to look at your work in progress. How much money how much did you bill out this month that's going to be collected next? Or how much have you worked this month that you're going to bill out next month, right? So what's your work in progress? Because that's going to tell you what you're going to collect. The next one is, how many sales calls do you have booked? That's a huge number for you, because the number of sales calls tells you how many new clients you're going to get. Number of new clients tells you how much work you're going to have. The amount of work you have is going to tell you how much revenue you're going to have. So you want to know how many sales calls you've got booked.
What if you don't have any?
You got a problem, dude.
You got a problem.
You need some sales calls.
Yeah.
And then you want to look at net new engagements. And when I say net new, I mean, how many new clients do you have coming on? And how many matters have you closed out? So where are you net new? And this isn't as much to look at how much billing you're going to have going forward. It's much more to look at the capacity of your firm. Are you going to need to hire? Do we have enough attorneys? Do we have enough paralegals? Can we handle this volume of work? All right. So number one was, cash and the cash flow forecast. Number two was the profit plan, and looking at the budget versus actual.
Yeah.
Number
Well,
three,
because you broke down the cash, and the cash new forecast is 1 and 2.
well, let's combine those.
Okay.
Let's
So,
make cash and cash flow forecast 1. Let's make, the budget profit plan 2. Let's make your work in progress 3. Let's make your sales calls 4. Let's make your net new engagements 5. And then let's go back to that number that we've already talked about. Let's make your owner compensation 6.
all right. So now one of your phrases, delegate and elevate.
Yeah, we love
Right.
delegate and elevate.
All right. Now, so I'm a law firm owner, partner. I know the law. I can see how much money is in the bank account, but a lot of this stuff is kind of gibberish to me. Should I go and take some kind of, accounting, financial management course and try to get up to speed? Do I bring somebody in to look at this? What do I do? How do I handle all this?
You are absolutely smart enough to go get your MBA and do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Is that a good use of your time? No. You can make more money and be more productive lawyering than learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are great people. There are people like us. There are tax accountants. There are bookkeepers. There are consultants that will do all kinds of things that will help you make better decisions. And that's part of what we do. We're
Yeah.
all about helping entrepreneurs. And yes, the attorneys we work with are very much entrepreneurs. So we help our entrepreneurial lawyers make data-driven decisions.
Yeah.
We help show them, okay, you're here and you've told us you want to go there. And these are the decisions you need to make to get there.
Yeah. And so I think, my mother used to always say, you got to spend money to make money. I think to delegate, to elevate, bringing in, the people that know this instead of you trying to figure it out is the way to go.
It's much more efficient. That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
It's faster, it's easier, and it's cheaper. You think it's cheaper to do it yourself, but you're not efficient at it. You're not good at it.
Yeah. Listen, I know we really scratched the surface on a lot of these things, and there's probably people out here that are listening that are saying, you know what? Wow, that's succession planning. I never even thought about it. And buying and selling, I could buy a law firm. I didn't even realize that. How do you buy a law firm? Arizona deregulation, non-lawyer people coming in, helping me out, owning part of it, buying me out. All these things. If you are interested in this and digging down into your numbers and seeing how to, one of the other things that I picked up on the show that I listened to, was that, you want to really be the person that you should be, which is the lawyer, because a lot of people like, oh, they want to make money. And what I picked up on the other show that I heard you do was that if you enhance your law firm's profits, it's not just this, like hey, this helps you out, you lawyer, the people in your law firm, but you're going to enable yourself and your law firm to help more clients out. And I think that is if you are a good law firm, if you can help people out, you might not be helping as many people out as you would like to, or that you can because you're not doing the numbers right. So I think if this is all sounding like, yeah, I want you to call Brooke Lively, okay, who is going to give you a lively and passionate discussion about this. She's been on CNBC. She's been Forbes magazine, U.S. News World Report, top 25 women to watch, Fort Worth's 2016 CFO of the Year. She's written an international bestseller, From Panic to Profit, how 6 key numbers can make a 6-figure difference in your law firm. So this is who we're talking to, all right? And this is, if these topics are of interest to you, Brooke, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Shoot me an email.
Give me your email.
Brooke at CathCap.com.
Brooke at CAP.com.
That's right.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for this episode of Cut to the Chase. Brooke, thank you for coming onto my show and helping me and others out. It was very helpful, and enjoy your weekend. I know it's Friday that we're recording, so let the good times roll, baby. All right.
Thank you, Greg.
All right. That'll do it for this episode of Cut to the Chase. Any questions, comments, reviews, please, where to go. Apple Podcasts, scroll down, find my show, and that's where you can leave all that information. And I will be dropping Brooke's information into the show notes, so you don't have to worry if you didn't get the email. We'll have all of our information for you.